Jai Hind students, myself Praveen Kumar, Assistant Professor in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. And today we are going to discuss the subject Energy Science and Engineering. And its subject code is KU03 in odd SEM and 043 in even SEM. This is basically an open elective subject. And today topic of discussion is about geothermal power concept. Okay, which is a types of renewable source of energy. So as far as the contents of the today's lectures are concerned, I will basically discuss about the introduction, about geothermal energy, basic diagram, earth surface structure, types of geothermal power plants in source, thermal energy in India and abroad, what are the different environmental considerations, applications, differences between conventional steam thermal power plant and a geothermal power plants, site selections, and at last I will conclude my today's video lectures by discussing about the merits and demerits of the geothermal power plants. Let us start the discussion. So first is the introduction about the geothermal energy. So basically geothermal energy is basically the energy which is available inside the earth, and it is basically potentially very large, not measurable, uncountable you can say. Geothermal energy is basically a form of renewable source of energy. Okay, so that is a form of, you can say, greener energy, and basically independent of sun, just is case of solar, and having the source of natural heat inside the earth. So you can say a large amount of energy available inside the earth in the form of heat is known as geothermal energy. Okay, so basically geothermal energy is basically known as the renewable energy, as it is basically available inside the earth and will last several millions of years. So this energy is basically available deep inside the earth, more than about 80 km, and evenly distributed because of the internal structure and the physical process that occurs inside the earth. We will see the physical structure in the coming slide also. So differences between this type of energy and the other types of renewable energy, which are solar and wind, is that unlike the solar and wind energy, the supply of the geothermal energy is basically constant and it doesn't vary with the time of the day or change with the weather. Although geothermal energy may always be available when it is needed, like the other two source of energy, which is solar and wind, it is not always available where it is needed. So we will see it in little bit detail when we discuss about the merits and demerits of the geothermal energy at the end of the today's lecture. So as far as the block diagram of the geothermal energy is concerned, so basically this is a block diagram of geothermal power plant. So basically here we have basically 5 components. This is hot water, second one is steam, third one is turbine, fourth one is cooling tower, and fifth one is injection well. Basically cool water is poured inside the earth and it is taken out from the other side of the earth, and due to the internal energy of the earth, this water is converted into steam, and this steam is used to run the turbine, which shaft is basically connected with the, this is basically connected with the turbine, which shaft is basically connected with the generator. This is basically generator. Okay, and this basically converts this steam, or you can say rotation of turbine blades energy, kinetic energy, into electrical energy, and then it is transmitted with the help of transmission towers. So if we understand the process, so the principle of hastening the source of energy available in the earth interior is simple, but in practice quite complex. So if we go deep into the geothermal energy process or geothermal energy extraction process, so firstly we have to locate a region for the geothermal regions. So there are several constants or site selection process parameters which should be taken care. Then a bore is drilled. When we firstly we select the regions, then a bore is drilled through the soft rock near the earth surface to the hot granite rock far below the earth, several kilometers below the earth, and the inside rock are fractured with stable explosive so as to make space for large amount of water to be pumped into these regions. And basically cold water is then sent through this hole. Cold water is sent through this hole, and the hot water is pumped back to the surface through the another hole, second hole. And the hot water, or you can see the steam produced, can then be used for the industry, for the heat exchanger, for houses, or you can say for the offices. So basically, as we have discussed, that in case of geothermal energy, the earth surface play important role. So this is the basically the structure of the earth and the geothermal gradients. So we have outside free space, then we have atmosphere which surround our earth, then we have crust, then we have inside layer inside the earth which is known as mantle, then we have outer core and inner core. So this is basically the radius in kilometers, and this is basically temperature gradient. So basically 1 degree Kelvin temperature is change per kilometer. So this is temperature gradient 1 kilometer, 1 degree Kelvin is change per kilometer. This is average. So basically in atmosphere, basically we have oceanic crust, continental crust, lithosphere, and plastic astrosphere, and then we have upper mantles. So these are the range 10 kilometer, 100 kilometers, and 200 kilometers. So important is that when we go deep inside the earth, then for per 1 kilometers we have increase in 1 degree Kelvin of the temperature. So let us discuss a little bit about these different terms in the coming slides. So first one is the inner core. We are basically discussing about the earth's surface. We are trying to basically understand the earth's surface structure, because in case of geothermal energy or geothermal power plants which is run by geothermal energy, which is a types of renewable source of energy, the earth energy is used which is abundantly available. So earth's surface, first one is the inner core. So the inner core is basically a solid, and radius is about 1220 kilometer, and it basically consists of 80% of the iron and 5% to 10% nickel, with a temperature of up to about 7200 degree Kelvins. So that's so high. So this is inner core. When we talk about the outer core, so basically the outer core also mainly iron and nickel is in liquid state now, and is about radius is about 2260 kilometer thick, and melted rock is also called magma. Then we have Gutenberg discontinuity mark. So these are basically the boundary between the outer core and the inner mantle. Okay, so basically mantle is about 2900 kilometer thick and surrounding the core and containing 83% of the volume and most of the mass of the earth. So if we discuss the next part of the earth surface, that is lower, or you can say inner mantle, that is semi rigid. So the deepest part of the mantle just above the core is known as semi rigid. Then we have upper outer mantle. This is about 670 kilometer thick with two distinct regions. The hotter innermost part is plastic flowing while the cooler outermost part is rigid. Then we have upper mantle flowing. This is also known as asthenosphere. So in case of asthenosphere, the innermost part of the upper mantle basically exhibit basically so plastic flowing properties, and it is basically located below the rigid lithosphere and is between about 100 to 250 kilometer thick and starting about 100 to 200 kilometer below the earth's surface and possibly extending to a depth of 400 kilometers. Then we have upper mantle, which is known as rigid. So the rocky uppermost part of the mantle is part of the lithosphere. So we are basically discussing about the earth's surface. Then we have lithosphere. So the lithosphere is basically defined as the solid rocky region which is about 100 to 200 kilometer thick. So this is a solid rocky region which is about 100 to 200 kilometer thick and which basically span the crust and the rigid upper mantle. Then we have crust. So basically crust is the earth crust basically occupies just 1% of the earth volume with a thickness which is averaging just 15 kilometers. So in scale size, this is only 1/5 of the thickness of the typical egg shell. So the temperature at the earth surface is typically 25 degrees Celsius, or you can say 298 degree Kelvin. Then we have continental crust. So this is basically exposed thick part of the earth crust and not located under the ocean, and the average continental crust thickness is 35 kilometer and the maximum thickness is 90 kilometer below the Himalayas, and the minimum is 25 kilometer, and it is basically the thinnest in various places around the earth. Then next is the ocean. Basically ocean is large body of the water up to 3.7 kilometer deep sitting on the top of the oceanic crust. So the water temperature at the surface is higher than the deep water temperature due to the solar heating and the thermal convection in the water which keep it that way, since the heavier cold water remain in the depth and the warmer less dense water stay on the surface. Then if you talk about the atmosphere around the earth, then the thick layer of the gases above the earth extend up to 800 kilometers deep with a temperature of minus 273, or you can say this is minus 273. Okay, absolute zero at its outer limit. This one is minus. Okay, so most of the atmosphere, or you can say roughly around 80% is actually within the 16 kilometer of the surface of the earth, and in scale this would be equivalent to a grainer generous coat of the, basically equivalent to a generous coat of varnish on a desktop globe. Then the basic concept which basically play significant role in the geothermal energy generation or geothermal power plants is the geothermal gradients, means temperature difference between the different depth or different layers of the earth surface, inside the earth surface basically. So the geothermal or temperature gradient is basically the rate of the increase in temperature per unit depth in the earth due to the outflow of heat from the center point, center of the earth you can say. So the temperature gradient between the center of the earth and the outer limit of the atmosphere average about 1 degree Celsius per kilometer. So it changes 1 degree Celsius per kilometer change in the distance between 2 points. So the temperature gradient in the earth fluid layer, the magma tends to be lower because the mobility of the molten rock tends to even out the temperatures. So this is basically discussion about earth structure and geothermal energy gradient of the geothermal temperature gradient, which basically converted into energy, electrical energy for the earth surface. So the next point of discussion is about different types of geothermal power plants. So basically if we categorize different types of geothermal power plant, students, then they are basically three main types. First one is the hydrothermal convection system power plants, which is basically of two subtypes. One is a vapor dominated system, that is dry steam field. Second one is the liquid dominated system, that is wet dry field. The second popular types of geothermal power plants is geopressure resources, and the third last is petrothermal system or hot dry rock power plants. And in today's video lecture, we are not going to discuss in detail about these three power plants due to the limitation in the today's lectures. If I discuss these, then the length of the lectures will be more. So I will discuss these in some other video lectures. So these are the three basic types of geothermal power plants, that is hydrothermal convection system, geopressure resources, and petrothermal system, or you can say hot dry rock. So the next point of discussion is geothermal energy in India and abroad. So if you talk about in India, then the hot water spring is basically in Jammu and Kashmir. We have these locations: Galia, Nubra, Kura, Tatapani, Gul, Sidhu, Yuds, Swede, Galhar. So these are some of the locations in the Jammu and Kashmir. In Himachal Pradesh, Parbati and Bass Valley, Satluj and Spiti Valley, and Uga Valley are the locations for the hot water spring in India, which is basically used for geothermal power plants setting. If you talk about Uttar Pradesh, in which your college is located, so in Uttar Pradesh also we have several locations. Some of the populars are Sidri, Jamnotri, Banas, Agora, Jyoti, Bukhi, Khasali, Beda, Badrinath, Hanuman Chati, Agora, Jyoti, and Hongi. So if you talk about the world, $16,813 gigawatts hour energy is extracted with the help of geothermal power plants. In Italy, it is 4403 gigawatts. In Iceland, it is 1138 gigawatts. In Philippines, it is 10,594 kilowatts. This is kilowatt. Okay. Indonesia, it is 4475 gigawatts. Japan, it will be 547 gigawatts, and in China, this is 29 gigawatts. So you can say China is not utilizing the potential of the geothermal energy fully. Okay. So the next point of discussion for today's lecture is the environmental consideration. So as I have discussed in the starting of the lectures, there are constraints for the geothermal power plant to set up. So those are environmental constraints. So let us discuss them in brief. So if you talk about the environmental consideration, the geothermal power plants create some environmental problems, and these problems are particularly discussed here. First one is the emission of the H2S, hydrosulfide, and the other toxic gases into atmosphere, and it basically a source of annoyance for the human beings, H2S gas. Then a 200 megawatt capacity geothermal power plants basically emits 500 kg of this H2S, hydrosulfate, per day, which is not good. So the effluent are highly mineralized and pollute the groundwater stream. So groundwater is polluted if we use geothermal and power plants. So this is again the biggest constraints, environmental constraints. So to avoid this, it is necessary to re-inject the effluent into a well or reservoir, which can take care of the thermal pollution, and you can say cleaning the water again by setting up a water treatment plants. So that will basically takes a space as well as money also, lots of. So these are environmental consideration. If you talk about some more environmental consideration, so those are some effluents contains boron, fluorine and arsenic. So as far as these contents are concerned, that is boron, fluorine and arsenic. So these are basically harmful for the plants and the animal lives as well as for the human beings. So require stainless steel equipment to prevent corrosion because of the saline water. And all bad copper electrical equipments are to be protected from the corrosions. So all these determinantal effect of the geothermal electric power generation or power plants are at a very low level. So these are environmental constraints. So the last environmental constraint is there is no solid pollutant to be emitted into the atmosphere and no radiation hazard like nuclear plants. So if you talk about the non-conventional applications of the geothermal power plants, some of them are listed here. One is the hot spring bathing. Second one is the agricultures, aquacultures, industries that may be micro, small or high scale industry, heating purpose, space heating, medical therapy, we can use geothermal power plants, energy, mineral extraction, air conditioning, we can use geothermal power plant energy, which is a renewable types of energy in which earth basically provide us the energy from the heat stored inside the earth inner structure. Okay students. So the next point of discussion for today's lecture is basically differences between conventional steam thermal power plants and the geothermal power plants. So some of the main differences are listed here. So the main differences between the conventional steam thermal power plants and the geothermal power plants are listed here. First one is the geothermal power plants have smaller unit size. The geothermal power plants has smaller unit size which is basically for 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts or 15 megawatts power plants can be set up, whereas the conventional steam thermal power plants have larger unit size, that is 200 megawatt, 500 megawatt, 800 megawatts. So geothermal power plants capacity is small, you can say, and the conventional steam thermal power plants capacity is large. The next main difference between these two is that a variety is used in geothermal power plants for extraction of the steam from geothermal energy source. The next difference is geothermal power plants need a large flow of geothermal fluid with high speed. If you talk about the second last difference, then geothermal power plants are located on the geothermal fields, which should be choose by taking into consideration about the environmental consideration, which we have already discussed in the previous slides itself. And if you talk about the last difference, so it is not technically feasible to transport hot geothermal fluid over long distance due to the fact that there will be a drop in pressure and temperatures. So these are the some of the differences between the conventional steam thermal power plants and the geothermal power plants. So the next point of discussion is the how to select the site and how to explore the geothermal energy with the help of geothermal power plants. So some of the parameters which should be taken care are listed here. First one is the rate of upward heat flow in the ground. So that's play a very important role. So higher the rate of upward flow in the ground, so more steam will be generated, the turbine speed will be high and the geothermal power plant efficiency will be high. The next point to be taken care is the chemical composition of the surface and the ground water. Then if you talk about the next point, then electrical resistivity of the ground and the at the depth level. So this will also play a role. Then the last parameter for the site selection and the exploration is active and passive seismic measurements. So these are some of the constraints drilling operation in a geothermal field. So when we drill, when we do boring inside the surface to set up the geothermal power plants during the installation or maintenance time also. If you talk about, so the last disadvantage is that the overall efficiency of the power generation or geothermal power plants is quite low, which is around 15% only as compared to the 35 to 40% efficiency of the fossil fuels. But as we know, the fossil fuels are basically types of conventional source of energy or non-renewable source of energy, so they have other disadvantages also. Okay, so in today's video lectures, we basically discuss about introduction about the geothermal power plants or geothermal energy, you can say. Then we discuss about the merits and demerits, environmental considerations, applications, how to select the sites for the geothermal power plants. So these are the references which you can follow for the deeper understanding of the concept or these two particular topics. Thank you students and Jai Hind.